You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 175 of Teach Better Talk. I am already laughing, and my name is Reusch, and I am with I'm with Jeff, and you know that it's a problem, and you know that I spend too much time with him. Hi, Jeff Vargas.
Hey, what's up? I'm good. How are you doing?
Good.
I mean, we're laughing. We're having a good time. We're laughing a little bit.
It's true. We need to change our intro so that you start introducing me, because every single time I'm either laughing because you make me laugh right before you hit record, or I'm mad at you and I'm just bashing you the whole time. I don't feel like we have a good balance anymore.
We could switch it up. We should like reverse everything.
Wait, what do you mean reverse everything? Like I'd have to take us out at the end of the episode?
Yeah, we have different questions that we ask. Like we'll swap that. We'll just mess everyone up for like an episode or two.
And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.
Yeah, I believe in you. I think you can do it.
I had to actually think about it. I'm like, what do you say at the end of that episode? I've only heard it 3 times tonight.
And I'll be like, "What? I don't know what you say." You're like, "Hey, everyone, welcome to Teach Better Talk." I don't listen to anything you say. Something about 175 and Jeff.
We are on episode 175. Nice.
Yes,
job,
and believe it or not, we're actually still recording. Some people are actually still listening. Others have skipped forward. That's okay.
That's where they have that little 30-second.
That's where they have that. Yeah. That's exactly right. So let's before you skip ahead, we want to highlight someone. Can we highlight someone really quick?
Yes. Can I pick somebody from our Facebook group? Because we've been streaming live every morning in our Facebook group, Monday through Friday. And the daily drop-ins are actually ending. We are ending our daily drop-ins on the Friday before Memorial Day weekend will be the last daily drop-in. I know, I'm a little sad. It's been an amazing kind of routine for me to be able to learn from all these amazing educators. But we've had a lot of people who have been with us the entire time, like since we started March 16th. Yeah, they've like made it a part of their morning. And there's a lot of them. But I thought a very special one who participated a ton the past few weeks has been Holly Stewart.
Oh, yeah, Holly. She is always in there.
Always commenting, always in there.
Yes, always in there. Yeah, Holly's awesome. Yes.
And she's been adding a lot of comments that not only have been, like questions, wanting to grow as an educator, things that can really apply to her classroom, but also supporting other educators. And I love that educators choose to listen on a live video, but then also choose to be participants where they help others throughout this time, answering questions, liking comments. That engagement's so important. And she's choosing to do that bright and early in the morning. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. So shout out to Holly Stewart.
Yes.
You can follow her on Twitter. She's at Holly A. Stewart, and Stewart is Stuart.
She's also.
You can also get in the group and just be in there at all, and you'll see her. She's active.
Yeah, and then she's actually been super active also in the Grid Method middle school science group that we have. That was kind of like a part of our group. And so I feel like there's a lot of different places you can collaborate with her and learn alongside her, especially if you're a science teacher. I mean, geez, I would totally collaborate with her.
Well, I love it. Well, shout out to you, Holly. You're awesome.
Holly.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Shout out to our guest, Will Reusch. This was an awesome episode. Will is a 15-year veteran high school teacher in Los Angeles. He's taught public, private, charter, and a wide variety of students in areas. He's credentialed in like everything. I won't even list off all the subject that he's the credentials in. It's crazy. And he is also the host of Cylinder Radio podcast. And Will tell you, and the show's description does say controversial in it. And I think that's just a word that people use, but I don't find Will to be controversial. I think he's the kind of controversial that we need.
Yes.
Because his outlook on how to have these conversations and why we need to have these conversations and how we can have them effectively is just like, I mean, it was just hit me in my soul. Like, I love it. It's how I try to be. And like I literally, we were in there. I actually message you because I'm like, hey, I don't know what I lost track because I was actually going in and I subscribed to his podcast to make because I wasn't subscribed. I want to make sure I was following him on things too because I love the conversations he's having. But I really liked his outlook on things. I'm super excited for people to hear this. I hope you listen to the things that Will is saying. I hope you take him up on some of his challenges, and then I hope you engage with him and have the conversations with him because very thoughtful, brilliant guy. And I think he's the kind of guy that you can have a very what would typically be uncomfortable or controversial conversation with, and it won't be that way. It'll just be a learning experience, and I think that's really, really powerful. So I'm excited for it. Ray, anything to add, or do you want to jump in?
No, I mean, he challenges the social norm the way that we challenge our students to do it. So let's learn a little bit.
Let's get an episode 175 with William Reusch.
Hey guys, we'll get right back to the episode, but really quick, I want to highlight the webinar series that the Teach Better team is offering over at teachbetter.com/webinar series. And did I mention, y'all, it's free. So you can join myself, Chad Rashowski, Mandy Freilich, Kevin Butler, and Jennifer and Hans Apple as we dive into educator mental health, remote learning essentials, the grid method, engagement, and so many other elements that can support you to be better at a distance. And you can go register right now at teachbetter.com/webinar series. All right, I've told you enough information. Let's get back to this awesome episode.
All right, we are here and we are chatting with William Reusch. And William, it's awesome to have you on here. I didn't ask, do you like William or Will? What are we going with today?
Will's fine.
Will's good. We're going to go with Will. We're friends here. It works, right? We're going to go with Will. Super pumped to have you on the show. I always love flipping the mic on fellow podcasters, so this is always fun. We're definitely going to chat about your podcast, hear just a little more about your story and what you're doing and stuff. But before we get too far into that, man, how you feeling right now?
I'm okay. You know, I'm teaching remotely. So I still have some interaction, but I miss it. I miss the students. I miss the personal interaction and stuff like that. But I'm doing okay. I have a job, you know, so I'm doing okay.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so excited. We've been trying to get you on the Teach Better Talk podcast for quite some time. So I'm thrilled that we finally got this booked. And I don't know what Jeff's talking about. I mean, once you're on the podcast, you're family regardless. So we're going to go with Will forever now because, you know, we all just stick around as family. Before we get too far into it, I want to make sure our listeners get a little insight in all that you do for education. So would you mind kind of sharing about what you do?
Yeah. I'm a high school social studies teacher. I've been teaching in LA for 14 years. I taught public school, charter schools and regular public schools for 7 years. And then now I'm at a private school. So I have a pretty diverse kind of range of experiences. And then about 2 years ago, I ventured off into the social media world and started my own podcast and stuff like that. Everything educational. I just love the field.
All right, so let's go right into that then. Let's talk about the podcast. You said it was a year or two ago, so you're doing it for a little bit here now. It's called Cylinder Radio. Tell us about sort of blend us in. So tell us about the show. What is it? Kind of what's the format? Who should be listening? And then also, I'd love to hear like sort of what brought you to that. What made you say, you know what, I need to start a podcast?
Yeah, thanks. So essentially, it's cylinder radio. So if you look at like a soda can, from one angle, it looks just like a circle, and then from another angle, it looks like a rectangle. And the truth is that it's a three-dimensional, more complex shape. So what the idea is I was getting really tired of the political polarization, the lack of viewpoint diversity, and all of that kind of stuff that we see in the news and we see in our everyday lives and we see in the social media echo chambers. So I was looking for, where can I get a wide variety of different perspectives? And I'm assuming that controversial ideas are not simple. So where can I learn about this stuff? And I didn't see a whole lot, so I did it myself. And what's great about it is I can just reach out to people that I disagree with and invite them on the show, and I can be genuinely curious about why they think what they think.
I love that you're reaching out to people that you disagree with, because then you can have like you said, like a true genuine conversation. That's an argument, but not an argument in a negative way, in a positive way, right? Positive disagreement stuff. That's really, really cool. So I'm curious if are there any like certain people that you've had on conversations that you've had, specific things that over the span of this show that's really like sticks out? You're like, man, that's the one that was just like, oh, totally made everything worth it because we had this conversation. It was such a I learned so much, or it got so valuable because of how intense it was or how complex it was? Anything that really stands out that you can think of right now?
I've been very lucky. I've had just incredible guests. I mean, there's so many. One of them that just stands out all the time is a guy named Sidney Smith, who he's a double amputee, and when he got his legs, he had a Charmary tooth disease. So his whole life he was breaking his ankles, and just his bones were very brittle in his feet. So when he was about 27 years old, he got both of his legs amputated. And from the hospital room, he was watching the Ironman triathlon on TV, and he goes, "I'm going to do that." And then he just trained for it for 2.5 years and then completed it. And he is just an unbelievable figure about the mindset. And in 1 year, he talked about on the podcast, in 1 year, he lost his legs, his wife had a miscarriage, and he lost his dream job all in 1 year. And it didn't stop him. He came out of all three of those areas. They had another baby that's beautiful and healthy. He got a better job, and he became an Ironman triathlete. And just like that just taught me, like, what am I complaining about?
Yeah, no kidding. Talk about the perspective that he must have on life that's different than those of us that haven't had those types of challenges to face. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Before we even go any further, the best place to find the podcast?
It's everywhere. I think it's
everywhere. Okay.
Google Drive, Apple, and then I think my hosting site is Libsyn, so you can probably find it on there too.
Awesome. I love it. So let's talk, one of the things we talk about on our show all the time is failure. I always say that, I've been fortunate to fail a lot because I learned from all those. So I'm hoping that you can share a story with us by the time you've had a failure or a struggle in your life, something you had to overcome, and kind of take us there with you. What happened? How did you overcome that? And what did you take away from that experience?
I loved when I was reading through the questions and prompts and looking at your podcast. Like, I love that question. It's such an important concept of just looking at your failures as part of the road to success. It's hard to isolate just one example, because I failed at everything in my life over and over and over again. And I guess what it comes down to is what failure do you enjoy doing? What is the grind that you actually enjoy? So, like, for example, when I moved out to California from Pennsylvania, I wanted to try getting into a sport. So I tried surfing because it seemed like the thing to do in California. And I just kept, it was really exhausting. I kept falling and eating into the sand and hitting my face on rocks and all that kind of stuff. And I just didn't like getting beat up. So then I found jujitsu, and I got beat up just as much or more, but I loved it. So I had to fail at a lot of things, and then find what is the thing that I actually enjoy failing at, so that I could get better at it.
I love that. Find the thing that you enjoy failing at so you can get better at it. That's cool. So let's flip that. Let's talk about a successful moment you've had. This can be something big or small, but share with us, what happened. Why was it a success for you, and then what did you take away from that experience?
I think what it comes down to is when I was teaching in public schools in LA, I was teaching in some really tough areas. It was heartbreaking, just the stuff that I saw day to day. And for a bunch of reasons, just frustration with the system or whatever, I left and went to a private school in like the Beverly Hills adjacent area. And I felt kind of like a sellout. And I went there, and all the teachers, I just have a bachelor's degree from a state school, and all the teachers there had PhDs from Ivy League schools and all that kind of stuff. And I felt really underqualified and insufficient in a lot of ways. And what I realized was I have a different background. I have different experiences, and I had experiences that were uniquely mine. And even though I didn't go to the schools, and I didn't have like necessarily the best resume, I had a lot of experiences. I've worked a lot of blue collar jobs. I've worked in factories. I was a custodian for 2 years before I found education. All of these different life experiences gave me an edge, because I could talk from a perspective that a lot of the more kind of, well-educated, kind of elites, types like didn't have. And that gave me an edge in my education, especially with these students who didn't get a lot of interaction with people like me. So that's been a huge success. That I bring something to the table that other teachers don't at my school sometimes.
Well, and I think that's something that kind of all teachers need to go through in some capacity, is finding what they can bring to the table. I mean, we're all coming from different backgrounds, and yet we all try and be the same when we first enter the field. We're just trying to, keep our head down and go with the grind. And the magic that a staff can actually build is when they come together, identify strengths on any team, and then make sure that that becomes an element at the forefront of what we can learn from each other. And so I like that success. That totally vibes with me. I like that.
Yeah, you can't compete. I mean, no one can compete with you for being you, right? I mean, that's so you got to be like you and do your own style, your own way of doing things. Then it's not I felt like a competition. Like I'm going up against all these other really smart history teachers that are way more qualified on paper than I am. So what do I bring? I just bring my own personal experiences. Yeah.
That's so good. You know, question 4 always has to do with kind of what's keeping you excited about education. And I really want to dive into this with you because obviously you've had a lot of different experiences. You have done a number of different elements, not only within education, but also to share with teachers about education. What has you excited right now about the world of education and what you do?
I think bringing critical thinking back to education. I think we're losing it a little bit, unfortunately. I mean, at least in the kind of what I'm seeing, you guys probably have your finger on the pulse better than I do. But I'm worried that we don't challenge ideas as much as we should. I think that we should leave everything on the table for discussion. Let's talk about it all. Let's see if these are the best ideas. Let's just be critical about our own ideas and challenge everything. I like to seek disconfirmation as opposed to confirmation bias. So when I have a belief, I try to prove myself wrong. And that has been it messes with your head. But I think that if we can bring that back to education and really focus on helping students to, on how to think, not what to think.
I really like
I'm
that.
really excited about it. I think it's an uphill battle, but I'm excited to be a part of it.
That's one of my favorite things to do, actually. I love how you said that when you have a belief, you try to prove yourself wrong. Something that I like, one of the things that I do, like when I'm flipping through social media, you see a million different articles and coming through and I love, like, it's something that I really enjoy doing. Is if I see something that I immediately agree with, a headline or article or statement, I go research the heck out of it, trying to figure out where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, where? Because I feel like I got a good understanding of, like, I have biases, and that's just human nature. But like, can I go prove myself wrong by going, let me read everything to the complete other side of this thing to see if am I just agreeing with this because it's actually right? Is there facts behind it? Does it make sense? Is it actually what I believe, or is it just what feels comfortable for me? I love how you say that.
It's a scary process, though, right? Like, I mean, it's hard because your sense of reality goes away a little bit. Like, there are so many things that I was certain of, and then I got more educated on it, and now I have no idea. And that's really tough to walk through the world not being certain about all the things around us. But I think it's the right way to do education.
And I think it allows us to be learners just as much as our students. And that really is at the root of what we want. If we're trying to teach our students to question and really think deeply about ideas, we really should take on that same challenge for ourselves in a number of different areas so we can feel what that looks like, or we can feel what that's like, and so we can guide and facilitate discussion through it. And I think that's really important for us moving forward.
Yeah, they dig it too. The students love when you're uncertain, when you're like, I don't know. Like, they're like, oh, I guess it's okay not to know. Yeah, let's figure it out together.
Right, exactly. Absolutely. And I think that goes back to, Jeff, we quote her all the time, but Levana Roth, who was on our podcast ages ago and talked about, something that was exciting her about education was that people were frustrated. Because when people are frustrated, they want to enact change. And if we can have, I think teachers being hungry to learn has that same mentality, like questioning everything is really exciting. And I think that we're really in an age right now in education where we can do that, and it's appropriate to do that, and we have to do that right now. So when it comes to advice, I mean, obviously you offer a lot of advice, a lot of insight to educators, but if you had to pick one piece of advice that you wanted all educators to really chew on and question, what would that be?
I'm going to repeat myself. Seek disconfirmation. That is, I have had my own frustrations with, those in our field where they are so certain of something. So, okay, I'm a government teacher. So let's take, Orange Man. All right. If you are so certain that Donald Trump is a great president or a terrible president, Okay. Try really hard. You are an educated person. Try really hard to prove yourself wrong. That means go way out of your bubble when it comes to where you get your media from. That comes to, doing a deep dive and you got to, uncover a lot of things and dig a little bit. But that process is so important for the field of education, to go in there and be like, maybe I'm wrong about a lot of things. Maybe I'm missing something. And why do people who think differently than me think like they do? Like, why? I'm so curious. I hear this all the time. Like, how could people possibly think that? Well, that's a great question. I don't know. Figure it out, But that's probably the biggest thing that I would push for young educators. Just really, like you said, like, be a lifelong learner in the truest sense. Even the things that you are certain about, maybe be a little more uncertain.
I love that. I'm digging it. And I've said that to myself so many times. I don't know how they could believe this or that. And it's like, all right, let me go try and figure this out real quick. So really cool, man. Really, really loving this. So let's have a little bit of fun with these next 6. We're going to do the next 6 questions. Your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
Yes. I probably forgot what I said, but yes, let's try.
What is a ed tech tool you cannot live without?
Social media.
Give us a book that you're reading right now.
Right now, I'm always reading Jocko Willink, Leadership, Extreme Ownership.
Give us who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today? You can give us up to 3.
Eric Weinstein, Joe Rogan, and Tim Ferriss.
What's a good YouTube channel or website for educators?
The Heterodox Academy.
Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
I think healthy lifestyle. So that's kind of broad, but I would say getting into a healthy lifestyle.
All right. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Be unapologetically yourself, and you have good ideas, so be assertive.
Nailed it, Ray.
No, it's so good. I mean, it's really important that we not only find our voice, but really own it. I love this. Has been such a constant in your answers. I think that's awesome. So powerful. So when it comes to, our listeners, obviously we love that we were able to chat through this podcast episode with you, but we want to make sure that our listeners can stay connected to you. You're pushing out so much content and you're having challenging conversations that we all need to be a part of. And I want to make sure that they not only connect with you, but your podcast and everything else. Would you mind kind of sharing how people can stay connected?
Yeah. So I use social media. I watched the Mr. Rogers documentary, and I loved it. And I love Mr. Rogers. And he watched TV, and he said, what a great tool. It's such a shame that it's being used in such a terrible way. And that's the way I see social media. I think it's a wonderful way to connect people. And it's actually dividing us. And I think that we can be a part of changing that. And I would love for other educators to reach out to me. And even if I say something that is offensive or I say something that you don't like, please, let's have a conversation about it. Not even over text, like we can call each other, we can talk about it and try and bridge some of those gaps and model how to find common ground and shared values. And then we can kind of model that for younger people or younger teachers and then put that out to our students. So I'd say social media, especially Instagram.
And what are the handles? Can you roll through your handles?
My name, Will Reusch. It's Will, and then my last name is a little funky, but it's Reusch at Will Reusch.
Love it. And you can find all the links and all the resources that I'm going to talk about in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as all those links to connect with Will so you can keep the conversation going and have some really important conversations there as well. So make sure you check out the show notes over at teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, we'd really appreciate that as well. And let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators and share this podcast with them. Will, this was awesome, man. I love your perspective on things. I love what you're doing with the podcast, what you're trying to share out there, the conversations that you're encouraging and inviting, and And I hope that you continue to do that and people continue to take you up on that and have these conversations, man. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us and having a little bit of fun too, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. It really means a lot that you guys would invite me on and be able to share that. So thank you.
Absolutely. And until next time, let's get out there. Let's teach better.